Well, hello and a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us today for our live event on making New Year's resolutions work and trying to understand why they don't work. So my name is Ashok Gupta. I've been involved in neuroplasticity and brain retraining for over 30 years. And I'm very excited that you're here with me today to talk about this incredibly important topic. And we'd love for you to share this on your social media, perhaps invite people, show us your likes as well, because this is such an important topic to get across. And we'll be going into the deep neuroscience of our mind, of behavior change, neuroplasticity. And this isn't just about New Year's resolutions. It's about anything that you feel you want to make an effort in to accomplish in life. We have to harness and hack our own psychology, our own neuroscience in order to be able to achieve things in life. And we're going to be going deeper into the psychology of that. And so I think that what we'd love for you to do is, once again, share this on your social media. So you can just share this particular live feed. And in this first section, this first half an hour live stream, we'll be going through the neuroscience of habit formation, why we don't form habits in a particularly great way given our psychology. And then in the second session, that will be live on Zoom. And you can join that workshop. If you've already registered for that Zoom event, you can obviously join it, but also you can join it exclusively if you join our new app called Just 10. So for those of you who don't know, we are launching a brand new app that takes advantage of the psychology and the neuroscience of habit formation that's called Just 10. And Just 10 is the world's first live 24/7 wellness platform that whenever you go on the app, there are live breath work, live meditation, live physical exercise, live journaling, sleep exercises going on every hour, fresh content every day. And we'd love for you to find out more about that as well. So you can, if you want to join the second session, you can download our free app. You can go to App Store or Play Store, type in Just 10 as one word, JUST, and then the numeral 10. And then you can obviously download the app and then take advantage of our second workshop. And in that second workshop, we're going to be going through the practical applications of what we're learning here. So I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I used to read the self-help books or self-development books, and I would read the content, and at the end, there would be an exercise. Yeah, so now, can you do this exercise? And I think I'm far too cool to be doing the exercise at the end of these chapters. For some reason, I had a real resistance to it. But actually, we can cognitively and intellectually understand all this content, but unless we apply it to our personal situation, it won't make the impact. So it's incredibly important that we actually apply this to our situation. And we're going to help you create really powerful goals for 2026 that harness your psychology, harness your subconscious, and make it easier to practice, easier to initiate, and easier to stick to. All right. So please do join us for that second workshop. Now, what's so fascinating about New Year's resolutions is that, did you know that 80 to 85% of New Year's resolutions, people fail by the end of January, right? And yet, isn't it so interesting that every year we come up with these New Year's resolutions, we say, right, this is my goal, this is what I'm going to do. And then in the back of our minds, we already know that, well, we're probably not going to stick to it and it's probably not going to work. Yeah. Now, this is the process that I see a lot of times in the clinic and with people that we know. You set a goal or habit that you want. You say, right, this is my goal. This is what I'm going to do. And the first day, you're really motivated. And you might do it on the very first day. And then you might miss some days. And life gets in the way. And then you don't do it consistently. So then you start feeling bad. And that can be feelings of guilt, feelings of shame, annoyance at yourself, even a feeling of kind of low self-esteem. And then you start criticizing yourself and putting yourself down. And that creates, interestingly, a feeling of unsafety in the mind. The mind doesn't like that feeling. It doesn't like the feeling of failure. Yeah, that's anathema to the brain. So the brain comes up with a very clever idea. It says, well, what about if we procrastinate even more and ignore this as much as possible? Then we don't have to experience those bad feelings. So then we ignore the situation. We then have even more bad feelings. And so the cycle continues to the point at which it becomes too much effort to even think about that goal or habit. And we've slid back into our old ways of being. Yeah. So do we recognize any of those kind of aspects of behavior change and how can be very, very challenging. And in those moments, it can be very easy to blame ourselves and think, well, maybe I'm just lazy, I'm undisciplined. But the real reason is we haven't been taught about our brains and how we can harness the power of those aspects of ourselves. So I think it's not about telling ourselves off. It's about really making sure that we understand why this is happening. And there's going to be something we're going to be talking about that's very powerful in neuroscience that I haven't seen a lot of in terms of connecting to habits, or certainly in the mainstream, which is this idea of predictive coding. And we'll talk about that a little later. So why is it so hard to create a new habit? And once again, please do share this feed on your social media. Please like. We like to see the little hearts appearing on the screen. So please do give us a like and a thumbs up. Why is it so hard to create a new habit? Well, our brains and our nervous system, they are wired for survival and safety. So survival and safety is the number one priority of our brain and our nervous system. And the part of us that actually wants to create a new habit, that is the conscious mind, the conscious brain. All right. And to illustrate these two aspects of our mind, I'm actually going to use a couple of little props here. So hopefully you can see these props. So the first prop I'm going to use to represent our conscious mind is this little policeman or woman. Okay, so this represents our conscious mind, our conscious rational mind that wants to make a difference. All right. And so this part of us is the part that's saying, I want to write that new book in the new year, or I want to exercise, or I want to make sure I meditate regularly. Yeah. So this is the conscious rational mind saying, this is what I want. All right. This is the you. Yeah. The spotlight in the brain, the rational conscious mind. This is the motivation, the decision maker. And then we have a much bigger part of our mind, which is the subconscious. And we're going to represent this by whatever I could find in my house. Rocky from Paw Patrol, all right, which represents our subconscious mind. This part of our mind is wired for survival, for safety. And this part of our mind is more like a childlike part, but also runs the automated aspects of us. So the part of us that knows how to drive a car without conscious input. Yeah. It prioritizes short-term benefits. So this part of us prioritizes what can I get in the short term? Yeah. Which is why when you make a commitment to go to the gym, the rational mind is saying, right, let's go to the gym. Let's go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. But the subconscious part says each moment, I don't know how I feel today. Do I really want to do that? In the short term, it's easier not to do it, right? So this part of us can't process longer term benefits. It wants to do what's safe and known, what's comfortable and predictable. Okay. And this brings us on to a very important subject, which is the interplay of our conscious rational mind and our subconscious part of the brain. Yeah. So this part of us is saying, do this. This part of us is not being harnessed. Instead, it's doing its own thing because it has a different set of priorities. And its priority, and this is the content I think is so fascinating, is predictive coding. Now, what on earth is predictive coding? So predictive coding is this idea that the brain is wired, or the subconscious is wired, to predict the future. So we don't see the world the way it is. We project the past onto the future. And the brain says, is this current situation or the future similar to the past? And it fills in the blanks. And the brain says, I want to move towards what is safe and familiar and predictive, what I can predict as accurately as possible. So another aspect of the subconscious brain is it's a prediction machine, not a motivation machine. It cares more about being right and predicting situations that fit with its model of the world versus being surprised or changed. All right? It doesn't like surprise or change. Why? Because that takes more effort. And if we've survived so far and we're doing well, why take the risk of doing something new that could challenge survival, that could challenge safety? Yeah. So I hope this is making sense so far. So the subconscious minimizes that kind of effort. And we know that in the parts of the brain where these efforts are encoded, it's part of the basal ganglia part of the brain in combination with the limbic system part of the brain as well. And so an old habit is appealing to hang on to. Yeah. So let's take the example of some habits. So let's take the example of going to the gym. We make a New Year's resolution that we're going to go to the gym, or we're going to exercise regularly. Yeah. Now, that is going to require some effort. That is going to require some decision making. And the old habit of not going is appealing enough to hold on to because it's safe, it's predictive, it's what we've always known. And the idea of going to 1.5 hour gym session or 2 hour gym session 3 or 4 times a week, it feels like such a big effort that it could be unsafe to the subconscious. Yeah. It's too much of an unknown, and it's seen actually as a threat to the subconscious, right? So this is where we're hopefully getting some light bulbs about what might be going on in our subconscious. And so the motivation and willpower, which is coming from the conscious mind, is trying to override the predictive coding from the subconscious that says what's safe, what's predictable, what's accurate, what's right. Yeah, and what requires the least amount of effort. So these parts of our brains are bumping up against each other, and that's why most New Year's resolutions, 85, 90%, end in failure. We don't continue with it past, a couple of weeks or maybe even a few days, in fact. And our subconscious is far more powerful than our conscious willpower. And how do we then fix this, I guess, is the million-dollar question. How do we come out of this predictive coding, which is sabotaging our conscious, rational decision-making? Instead of New Year's resolutions, which are like decisions that we've made about the big things that we want to change in our life, instead, we want to break down those resolutions into habits. Yeah. So instead of thinking about resolutions, we want to think about habits. And we want to get away from goals, these big, dramatic goals we put out there, to systems that help us achieve those goals. So let's describe the old system. The old system is, I want to go to exercise regularly every day. Perhaps it's going to the gym. So each morning you wake up and you then rely on your thoughts and feelings from your conscious and subconscious, which are butting up against each other. And the conscious says, let's go for it. Let's go to the gym. And the little devil on your shoulder says, no, let's not bother today. It's not worth it. I haven't got the time. Yeah. It will make excuses because of predictive coding. So then we're relying on our thoughts and emotions to take an action, which is go and do some exercise so that we can have the outcome of feeling fitter, feeling better. Yeah. But what happens is we're relying on our thoughts and emotions from the subconscious, but each day those are up and down. It's a real roller coaster. Yeah. So instead, we want to shift from resolutions. Yeah. We want to shift from those resolutions, and instead we want to shift to what we call these habits. All right. And those habits then become automated behaviors through a cue or a trigger. So we want to think about how do we create small, manageable habits that we can make regular in our lives? Yeah. What cue or what trigger creates a behavior that then creates a reward? Let's take the example of brushing our teeth, right? Now, do we ever question brushing our teeth? Well, we may do occasionally, but in general, we don't. We don't rely on the conscious, rational mind to say, hey, it's time to brush your teeth. Are you going to brush it? And our subconscious isn't saying, I'm not sure. Shall I brush my teeth today? There's no decision making. There's no thoughts and emotions. It's an automated behavior. So what is the cue that we have? The cue is, I'm getting ready to go to sleep. The automated behavior is, I now brush my teeth. The reward, we don't even have to think about the reward, but initially that reward may have been when we were younger, our parents not telling us off or whatever. But in this case, there's no reward required. It's just a natural part of who we are. It's become our identity. We are someone who brushes our teeth in the morning and the evening. Yeah? So habits are far more powerful when they become small, manageable, short habits, because they reduce the effort and decision making. So we want to reduce the gap between when we're deciding to do something and then actually doing it. So a trigger just automates it. Yeah. And I really love this phrase. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if your systems are not in place, each moment it's a battle between your conscious and subconscious mind and predictive coding. Now, think about half of the things that we do each day. The reason we do them is because they're habitual. And the brain thinks that they already work. And an example of this is, unfortunately, scrolling on our phones, tablets. What's happened there is we've had a bit of excess dopamine in the brain each time we scroll. Yeah, it happened very subtly. And the brain, the subconscious said, hey, this actually feels quite good. Scrolling, little hit of dopamine. Because it happened subtly, it told the brain that this is safe, this is predictable, this is normal, it works. And then the brain gets stuck in that pattern and it becomes part of our identity. So when we're bored, when we're upset, we scroll on our phones because the predictive coding has got entrenched into the subconscious. It's easy for the brain to predict that that's something that we do. It's safe, it's easy, it's rewarding. So to build these new neural pathways, actually the first port of call, and many people kind of miss this, is to retrain. The first port of call is nervous system regulation. So when we're stressed and when we're anxious, the brain defaults to what it knows. Yeah? So the brain defaults to, well, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I haven't got time to go to the gym. Or I'm just going to use my phone and scroll and do what's familiar, because in a stressed or anxious state, we want to move towards safety and what is known. Yeah, does that make sense? So that's why the brain, when we're stressed and anxious, we reach for the comfort food, we reach for the comfort TV, we reach for doom scrolling, we reach for those things which feel familiar. And so how do we retrain that? The first thing is small, manageable steps. So if you have an outcome that you're choosing, instead of saying, right, I want to write a book in 2026, it's about breaking it down into small, manageable chunks. And maybe you say to yourself, right, I actually am just going to spend 5 minutes a day. So it's 8 a.m. in the morning or 9 a.m. in the morning or whatever it is. I'm going to spend 5 minutes. That's all I'm going to start with, just 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. And what that does is that overcomes the friction and the anticipation and the lack of safety that the unconscious feels. Because the unconscious feels like, I don't want to fail at this. This feels too big, too hard. It's unsafe. So I want to procrastinate instead, because failure is a difficult emotion and I don't like that. And we want to avoid difficult emotions. So we start small with something 5 or 10 minutes and we make it easy and frictionless. So perhaps that's something where you set an alarm that reminds you as a cue that, right, this is the time that we now take 5 or 10 minutes just to start with some information. Maybe it's just the headings of the chapters. That's all we do for the first week. So we create a cue, make it small and manageable, less than 10 minutes, and we make it as easy to remind ourselves and frictionless as possible. Have the notepad ready on your desk. Yeah? And then we create an identity out of it, that I am now someone in 2026 who is writing a book. Yeah? And these habits, now there's so much information about how long does a habit take to form. And actually what they know from studies is they used to think it was 21 days, or is it a month, or is it 2 months? It takes around 2 months of regularity for something to become neurally encoded in your subconscious, that predictive coding to become so deep, it becomes automatic. All right. So that's why if you think about, gosh, I've got to go to the gym 4 times a week for 2 hours or an hour, that feels too big. And that's why we lose the momentum. But if you say to yourself, I'm going to start with 5 or 10 minutes of some activity, some exercise every day, and then see how that goes, you build that habit in until it becomes part of who you are. And something else that really works well in these situations is something called habit stacking. So it's doing something that's connected to something that you're already doing. Yeah. So as an example, the idea of brushing our teeth, we're getting ready for bed, and naturally brushing our teeth becomes a habit stack on top of getting ready for bed, changing our clothes, getting ready, putting our pajamas on. And so in a similar way, if you're writing that book or you want to write that book, perhaps what it is after I make my morning coffee, that's when I stack that 10 minutes or 5 minutes that I spend just thinking about my book. I just put it into my diary. It's there. It's immovable. That's my new stackable habit. All right. So those are some examples of how we can incorporate these things into our day or into our New Year's resolutions or New Year's habits. And in the second workshop that we're going to go through, as I mentioned, that will be starting at 45 minutes past the hour. And you can go to the App Store or Play Store, download our app, and our team will put those app links into the chat. You can download it App Store or Play Store, type in Just 10. Today is our launch of that new app. And then you can join our workshop. And our workshop is going to be 45 minutes where we're going to make this really practical. And you're going to leave that workshop with an actual blueprint, a plan of how you're going to put your resolutions into practice. And we're going to give you a worksheet that you're going to be able to put on your wall so that there's no way that your predictive coding obsessed subconscious is going to be able to take you away from what you've learned today. All right. So I really advise coming to that workshop. It's going to be really, really useful and applicable to anything that you'd like to achieve in life, not just these New Year's habits that we're creating. All right. So in summary, what have we learned today? We've learned that the brain is wired for survival and safety. And part of that wiring is this predictive coding, which says that what is right? I want to be right about the future. What fits in with my beliefs and my expectations? Yeah. And what doesn't compromise safety by being too big, too unwieldy, that it takes too much effort. All right. So that's our first kind of little clue as to how we can now our subconscious to make habits stick and make change stick. And change is resisted because of this safety response, this comfort zone response. And if we do try something that's big and unwieldy, the brain even says, what happened last time when I did this? That's part of the predictive coding. What happened last year? Well, I thought I would stick to it, but I didn't. So probably this year I won't stick to it either. And so the subconscious creates the very circumstance that it has predicted. Yeah. And you can apply this to so many different situations. So I know a lot of you are coming here for the first time and hearing me speak for around Just 10. So you can apply it to New Year's resolutions that you've got. If you're part of the Gupta program, our brain retraining for chronic illness, you can apply this to putting some of the Gupta program practices into your day and having them in your diary and making them regular. If you're from the Meaning of Life experiment, how can you put a regular meditation into your day? Yeah. So you can apply this to whatever situations and circumstances you want to create in your life. Yeah. A calmer mind is more neuroplastic and is open to change. So making sure that we breathe, that we meditate each day is so powerful. And finally, setting up systems that have a cue and a trigger in your day to make it an easy action that you just slip into without any thought or emotions or decision making, and have that reward and accountability afterwards. So who are you accountable to? Where do you get a reward from? How do you reward yourself and have a positive emotional stimulus after experiencing that? And then finally, how do you make it part of your new identity? This is just who I am. So if we're someone who is looking to, let's say, reduce phone usage at the end of the evening. So many of us doom scroll in the evenings, right? When we know that at night we shouldn't be on our phones because it stimulates our nervous system, then compromises sleep. Or we might be junk food snacking in the evenings. So the first point is your mind sees that as safe and comfortable. So how do we overcome that? Well, firstly, we essentially recognize what's going on and then we inbuild a cue. So perhaps we create an alarm that after a certain hour, we are not going to check our social media. So we might have an alarm that goes off at 8 o'clock in the evening or 9 o'clock in the evening to remind us, to create a cue that we no longer are on our social media. Then what we might do is create a substitute. So what else can we do instead? So that's creating an environment and a system that when we are reaching for our phones to doom scroll or re-stimulate our nervous system, what else is in place? So perhaps we have a book that we'd like to read, or there's some other activity that we want to do. So we're putting a substitute in there to make it easy and frictionless. And then we're saying to ourselves, let's just do this for 10 minutes a day. 5 or 10 minutes, I just make sure that I don't go on my phone and I do something else instead. And when we start with that 5 or 10 minutes of reading a book or doing something else, we then enjoy that. And there becomes a reward loop. And we think, this feels much better than being on social media. Okay, now I'm going to make this a regular habit. I'm going to do it for longer. I am someone that doesn't scroll on my phone after a certain time. And what's the reward? I feel better. I tell my partner or my friends that this is what I do now. Yeah, it's part of who I am. And it's now my new identity. And you then give it a couple of months to really create that new micro habit, and then it will grow and grow and grow. And finally, something that I'd like to share with you is Just 10. So we'd love for you to tell your friends, your family about Just 10. Now, what is Just 10? As I mentioned, Just 10 is our brand new platform. It's the world's first platform of wellness practices in 10-minute chunks that are live on Zoom 24 hours a day. So on the hour will be 10 minutes of exercise, and that can be cardio, strength training, yoga. Yeah. Every hour on the hour, 24 hours a day. Okay. And you can do that for 10 minutes. And it's a way of then building this habit stack in the new year. And then at 10 past the hour will be 10 minutes of breath work. Breath work, as we all know, is amazing to calm the nervous system, stimulate the vagus nerve, make you overall feel better, and reduce that stress and anxiety in our lives. In fact, with our modern lives now, I think actually breath work is vital for all of us day to day. It's vital for the whole of society. And it's in fact why we created Just 10. We saw that mental health is getting worse and worse despite all the different activities, all the different possibilities you have out there, all the knowledge. What's missing is the habit formation. Habit formation is crucial to overcoming the epidemic of mental health challenges we have on the planet. We know what people need to do, but how do we encourage people to do it? So Just 10 is our giving back, our way of creating these 10-minute micro practices, micro wellness that can hopefully change the world. 20 past the hour, 10 minutes of meditation, live on Zoom every hour, 24 hours a day. So you're joining that meditation after your breath work. That enables you to go into a deeper door of meditation. And of course, when people meditate in a group, they find that their experiences of meditation are much deeper, much more profound, and they feel part of that group. And so I would love for you to experience what it feels like to meditate in a group on Zoom and your experiences from that. And then you can meditate just for 10 minutes, that's all, or you can meditate for a little longer if you want, for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then at 10 to the hour, every hour, we have 10 minutes of journaling. Now, journaling is something which is so powerful in society, and it's something that we underestimate. When we journal, what we do is something that our phones don't allow us to do. During the day, we build up these emotions and these resistances to things that are going on. And those emotions then don't get resolved, whether it's fear, anger, guilt, shame. Because the moment we have that emotion, we now reach for a distraction, which once again, social media, phones, screens, and we never process that emotion. So now in the modern world, it's even more important that we journal every day, just for 10 minutes. So in our journaling section, you're given a prompt of something that you can talk about or reflect on in your own mind. And we do it together live on Zoom. And then you also do 3 things that you're grateful for, because we know that daily gratitude is one of the number one ways in which we can increase happiness, satisfaction, and feel good in life. Now, of course, that's what we call the whole hour of power that you can repeat each hour. But of course, you just pick one thing. So with habit stacking and all of that, the first port of call is pick one thing for 10 minutes. So everyone on this call, everyone that's watching this, could we think of just one thing that we'd like to do for 10 minutes each day? And as I said, it could be something around writing a book. So just having that 10 minutes that you focus on the book, or it could be exercise. You can come on Just 10 and just do 10 minutes of exercise a day to feel good. Or it might be you decide to do 10 minutes of breath work every day or meditation. Just that starting point, that 10 minutes can make all the difference. Okay. And just to share with you what the platform looks like, so you can see this here. I'm just going to share with you the platform. Okay, so this is the homepage of Just 10. And once again, you can see this on the app, and also you can join on the web. So on the left-hand side, this is the homepage, by the way. You can see all the upcoming events. So you can see that this is this event now. And then our first event, we are launching on January the 1st. Yeah. And we'd love for you to join us on January the 1st or whenever you can. But once again, the movement, the breath work, the meditation, the journaling happening every hour live on Zoom. So please do invite your friends and family. On the left-hand side, you can then have a daily check-in. So if you've done one of the events, you can then share your experiences. Just say, yes, I did the journaling today. I did the body meditation today. And by the way, most importantly, this is all free. So the live events on Just 10 are completely free. So once again, we want this to be a mass thing. We want hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people eventually to be coming onto this platform, healing together, creating a movement of people who want to make change. All right. And by the way, as I'm doing this, I'd love for our team to just share the Zoom link. So just in case you haven't been able to download the app, the free app, we can share the Zoom link for our second event. So if our team can just share that as well as the app links, that'll be great. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see a menu on how to use Just 10, the science behind it. So everything that we do is science-backed 10-minute micro wellness practices. Then this week at a glance, if you click on that, you'll be able to see on this particular day, all the different things happening, the movement, the breath work, the meditation, all different every day, and most of it filmed outdoors. And then to join the live events, you can see the movement, breath work, meditation, journaling, and sleep. You can just join the live Zoom links there and pop on whenever you want. And we'd love for you to create it as a regular habit. So if at 8 a.m. every morning, you decided you want to take 10 minutes of movement, you can just put that into your diary. You'll get a little reminder on the app and also a little reminder through the WhatsApp group that we have as well. So how is this fitting in with what we've talked about today? Short, manageable, regular. We're emphasizing nervous system regulation, so the brain's more neuroplastic to take on new habits. Your cue is a little notification you'll get from the app if you've joined a particular event, and also you can be in our WhatsApp group, and our WhatsApp group will give you one WhatsApp every day to let you know what events are going on. You can join with one clip, so it's frictionless. And you can habit stack. So if you're finding one thing really useful, we can do a couple of things together. There's reward and accountability, because first of all, the reward will be you feeling good afterwards, but you can then share your experiences. You can see in community what other people have done. And emotionally, that's the reward you want, feeling good every day with fresh content and a community that's supporting you and with you every step of the way. Okay. So once again, please do share this live stream with friends and family that you know who could benefit from Just 10 and also the content of what we spoke about now. And now our team will share the WhatsApp, or rather the Zoom links, and you can join us live on Zoom for our workshop. And as I said, the workshop is the most important thing, because I can say all this great content, we can intellectualize it, but actually putting it into practice. You're going to leave with a practical plan of action for your next couple of months to create these new habits, make it frictionless, and hack your own psychology. All right. And yes, those 10-minute micro practices that we talked about in Just 10, all the science there backs it up. That you used to think we need an hour at the gym, or we need to be meditating for like an hour, or we need to be doing lots of personal development for hours and hours. But actually, neuroscience now tells us that these short 5 to 10-minute micro practices are just as good if they're done in the right way and they're regular and they're ease into your lifestyle. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best in 2026. I look forward to seeing you in the workshop, or if not, live on one of our Zoom events on Just 10. Spread the word. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.